Chapter 20. Afternoon. John Hamman, 31. Cretaceous. She started to see the dust in the early afternoon. It was a herd moving east toward what she hoped was the direction of the river. They were not moving fast, but they were overtaking her and looked to be passing near her. Jenny decided to hunker down and found a spot on a small rise where she could sit down in the shade of some small bushes with a good view. Sitting in the shade, she knew she would blend in, and if she was not moving, almost disappear. She was not afraid of the herd, but herds often had other less friendly things shadowing them. She pulled out a small monocular. The clarity in it was excellent. It was hard to see through the dust, but as they grew closer, Jenny began to make them out. It was some form of ornithischian. They were quadrupedal. It was hard to narrow it down beyond that. They were not her main interest. They had company, as most herds did. She could see the predators paralleling the path of the herd, looking for the young or the weak, straying too far from the safety of their brethren. As they grew closer, the size became more apparent. These were big animals, only slightly smaller than an elephant. The hunters were larger, some form of theropod. They weren't the famous Tyrannosaurus, but a close relative. Jenny sat, watching them cross the plain below her. As they came closer, and the wind picked up a bit, carrying away the dust, she could see them better through the glass. She thought she could see a bit of a bulge on their noses. They might be Muttaburrasaurus. The herd had already passed when the hunters made their move. She heard them call to each other as they moved in. They charged, trying to scatter some of the creatures from the back of the herd. As the herd broke into a full gallop, everything dissolved into clouds of dust. The herd charged away, and the dust began to settle, revealing a scattering of creatures. Most of them were able to escape, running to catch up with the herd, but two were cut off. They tried to stand together, but had no chance against the predators that moved to surround them. One tried to make a break for it, but two of the theropods sprinted after it. One hunter tried to cut it off, and as it turned to escape, the other hunter pursuing caught it by the rear leg, bringing it down. The powerful jaws must have broken the bone outright. Soon they were both on it, and the animal's fate was sealed as the second hunter locked its jaws around the animal's long neck above the shoulder. The loud bellowing honks of the dinosaur ended. The other ornithopod was surrounded. The hunters moved in, snapping at it. It tried to fight back. It swung its tail at one that tried to take it from behind. The predator pulled back, but as it was distracted, another attacker charged it from the front. It tried to dance away, but the jaws clamped down on its shoulder, and at the same time, the one behind it lunged back in, seizing one of its legs. It tried to keep its feet, but was dragged down on its side, and the killing jaws with their long teeth seized onto its neck. It died silently, kicking futilely in the dust. Jenny watched as two others returned to join in, feeding on the kills. She had not expected dinosaurs that large to hunt in packs. She wondered if they hunted larger herbivores, like the bigger sauropods. She waited till she was sure that all the members of the pack had joined in on the kills. Predators rarely passed up on an easy meal, even if it was comparatively as small as her, but if they had a kill, they rarely abandoned it for anything else. It wasn't that they weren't greedy. It was more important to protect their share from the other members of their own pack. It was about the competition between pack members. This was Jenny's chance to move on and be ignored. She gathered her pack and moved from her spot in the shade, taking one last long look through the glasses. Would she find these bones someday, after she returned across that vast space of time? Would someone dig these scattered, cracked bones from the stone and wonder about the fight she had witnessed? As she moved off, she made sure to angle off, giving the herd's path a wide berth. She did not want to have anything following that herd pick up her scent trail. She thought about the battle she had witnessed between animals, larger than anything walking the world she came from. How had her ancestors survived among these giants? By being small, by hiding below their notice. She didn't think there existed a mammal bigger than a large rat in the entire world at that time. How close had it come to her species never existing at all? If it had not been for a small twist of cosmic fate, none of those little rodents would have ever grown any larger. Her whole world and all the animals that lived in it would never have existed if this world had not been destroyed. She owed everything to a random piece of space rock that even now orbited somewhere out there in the cold night. Could those mighty predators ever conceive that one day their undisputed reign of this world would end? Would her own people, the rulers of their own world, pass into history? And how would it happen? As Jenny moved away at a brisk pace, wanting to put distance between herself and the conflict she had witnessed, she began to notice flyers circling above the recent battle. They would have to wait their turn. They looked large, but she could not judge the size so high in the sky, riding the thermals above the plane. The silhouettes were wrong, but they seemed to fill the same niche that vultures did in her time. Strange how some things changed, but everything stays the same. She did not stop moving as she took another drink from the canteen. She would not hunt again this day. The noise was too much of a risk with that pack of predators in the area. She would eat from her pack tonight without cooking at her campsite. The sun was moving toward the horizon. She had lost a couple of hours watching the hunt. It would start to get dark in another hour, with no sign of a moon rising. She would like to continue her march into the night, but the headlamp would be too much of a risk. The smaller predators would be more active in the early parts of the night. It might be best not to be moving around in the early evening. She kept moving until she started to lose the light. Once it got harder to see, she began looking for a place to conceal her tent. She wanted to find some larger bushes or ferns that would hide her from a casual passerby. It was becoming quite dark by the time she had it up and had moved her pack inside. She unrolled the foam pad and settled down, pulling the sleeping bag over her. She did not climb inside it. The night was not that cold, and she did not want to be confined. Jenny listened to the night sounds. She had seen things this day that no one had witnessed for millions of years. And even then, it had only been seen by her grandfather and his men. They were out there somewhere right now, looking up at the same sky. Did they have any hope, stranded in this foreign time? They could not know that she was here. They must be scared. Had anyone ever faced such a hopeless situation? She thought of all the things that had led her here, her grandfather and everything he had said and done. Looking back, she was sure he loved her. It was also clear that everything he had done for her had been leading her to this, preparing her for this. The books he brought her, teaching her to shoot, to hunt. She tried to think if there had ever been anything between them that had not been part of his plans for her. Somehow, it made her sad, thinking that every moment between them had been a part of some kind of grand plan. She did not notice as tears ran down her face in the dark. She could not believe there had been nothing else between them. She remembered times when she had caught him looking at her, that sadness in his face. She would see him again, the man who had been lost to her since she was a child. But it would not be him. It would be some younger him, someone who had never known her, a stranger who one day would become the grandfather she had loved. Would it be as strange for her as it had been for him? What should she tell him? Would she change the future with every word? Or was that already part of her future, her past? And would it change everything if she did not? All of this was too complicated. Trying to think about it tied her in knots. Somehow, she fell asleep, lost in her memories.